Bye, everyone. Bye, Ben.
Good evening, everyone. On behalf of myself, Jennifer Santos, and my co-chair, Jerry Virgin, welcome. Welcome to all of our CPIC members, as well as those watching our live stream. This is only our second meeting being live streamed, so please be patient with us as if we have any technical difficulties. I just want to start out the meeting before we start the opening prayer, just to make a brief comment. We don't usually have a big turnout at our meetings, but because our meetings are being live streamed now, and also because of the somewhat contentious items that are on our agenda today, we expect to have a larger audience than usual. As such, we thought we would begin tonight with a brief explanation of what CPIC is and how it operates. So CPIC is a group of elected parent representatives from across Halton. Our role is to be the voice of parents, to advocate for our students, support school councils, and provide a link between school councils, family, and the community. In addition to the parent reps, CPIC has a representative from the Board of Trustees, Vice Chair Duarte, from the board, Superintendent Denoffel, from OWAPC. We have Denise Garrell-Teddy, who is the director of OWAPC Halton, and a deanery representative with Father Dave Walter. Our meetings are a little more informal than the board's meetings are, and we try to keep them as collaborative as possible. Please note that you are welcome to, all CPIC members are welcome to use the chat or raise their hand if they have questions, but those who are watching or attending that are not CPIC members, we ask that you do not use the raise hand feature or chat feature. However, if somebody refers to you, more than welcome to share your expertise. Jerry, have I missed anything?
No, I don't think so, Jen. Yeah, I guess I would just underscore. Good evening, everyone. This Jerry Bergen, co-chair for CPIC. Yeah, just to underscore the slightly more informal format for these meetings. Those of you that are watching that normally maybe watch board meetings, there's a lot of formality and structure there. A little less so here. You'll notice we often use first names and not a lot of titles, that kind of thing. And to be honest with you, I'm just quite proud of the collegial atmosphere that we have at CPIC. And as Jen rightly points out, we don't usually have to deal with a lot of kind of what I'll call sticky issues. But we have a bit of that tonight, and that's okay. I mean, we're here to advocate for the parent voice at the board level, and whether it be how do we further support our councils in their endeavors, what information is relevant that we can share and provide education wise, and then like tonight where we've got other things on our minds and the minds of our parents, we're here to talk about that stuff too. So bear with us as we go through. I hope you enjoyed the evening and the meeting, and I'm sure as always we'll have a productive and collaborative meeting. So thanks, Jen.
Thanks, Jerry, very much. With that, let's begin with our opening prayer. Since Father Dave is not able to be with us this evening, Vince Monaco will be leading us in opening prayer. Vince?
Thank you, Jennifer. Please join me in the sign of our faith. In the name of the Father, of the Son, of the Holy Spirit. Amen. This is actually the Catholic Education Week prayer that I'd like to lead us in. Gracious and generous God, creator of the earth, our common home. With each new day, we prepare the earth of our lives by sowing seeds of gratitude for the love we have given. Inspire us to cultivate relationships with all living beings. May we harvest new fruit and marvel in the wonder at the beauty around us. Nurture us in hope. Amen. St. Catherine of Alexandria, pray for us. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, of the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Thanks very much, Vince. And we will, Andrew, are you able to play the land acknowledgement, please?
Each of us has a relationship to the natural environment, the land, water, earth, the habitat, and ecosystems. Land acknowledgements provide us with an opportunity to offer recognition, respect to the original inhabitants of the regions that we live in and work on. There are many things that we can do to go beyond simply reading a land acknowledgement script. To make it more meaningful, we need to consider that we are, in fact, acknowledging not only the ancestral lands, but also the historical and complex intersections of settler impacts on Indigenous histories, economies, ecologies, livelihood, well-being, and governance structures. A territorial acknowledgement is not an endpoint in the journey of reconciliation. Actions create conditions for true reconciliation and create a foundation for restoring, renewing, or developing a new relationship with Indigenous peoples. For hundreds of years, the Anishinaabe, the Haudenosaunee, the Attawaddaron, the Potawatomi, the Wendat and Lenape nations have sought to walk gently on this land. They assisted the first European travelers to this territory and shared their knowledge for survival in what was at times a harsh climate. Under consultations from elders, knowledge holders from the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation and 6 nations of the Grand River Territory, the Indigenous Education Advisory Committee, along with Halton Catholic District School Board, created this land acknowledgement.
Halton, as we know it today,
is rich in the history and modern traditions
of many First Nations and the Métis.
From the lands of the Anishinaabe
to the Attawandaron,
the Haudenosaunee,
and the Métis. These lands surrounding the Great Lake
are steeped in Indigenous history.
As we gather today
on these treaty lands,
our Catholic social teachings
call us in solidarity
with our Indigenous brothers and sisters
to honor and respect
the 4 directions: lands, waters, plants, animals, and ancestors that walked before us.
All these wonderful elements of creation exist,
gifted to us by our Creator God. We acknowledge and thank
the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation
for being stewards of this traditional territory.
Thank you very much. We'll start the meeting with approval of tonight's agenda. I'm looking for a motion to approve tonight's agenda, please.
Chair?
Yes. Joel, go ahead.
Hi, I'm looking to make an amendment to the agenda. I'm looking to include a motion to support school council's pride events to section 10 underneath other business, if the committee is okay with that.
Okay, so Joel, are you asking to amend so that we can add a motion, or amend for discussion?
Amend for discussion, well, discussion of the motion.
Okay, so I believe for an amendment for a motion, we need to have unanimous consent. So let's see if we have unanimous consent to discuss, to move the motion. And if not, we can circle back and see if we have consent to discuss. Let's start. Let me just get the list of the members here. Okay, so if you could please just let me know if you approve or dissent the addition that Joel has recommended. We'll start with Jerry.
I'm okay with it. I consent.
Okay. Laura Gallo. Laura Gallo. Okay. I'm not sure if she's with us this evening. Sarah Siwash. Okay, it doesn't look like she's with us this evening either. Maria?
So I just want to clarify, we're voting on adding it as an action item, as a motion?
Correct.
Okay, so I am opposed to that, and can I speak to why that is?
Sure.
So I'm opposed to it because I don't think it's necessary, and I don't think it fits within our mandate, although it's been worded in a way to make it seem like it does. The motion was not part of the original agenda, so that members of the public would not be aware, except for those who may have, an inside scoop. So we've not had an opportunity to seek and receive feedback in an open and transparent way. I think that bringing this motion and even this topic to our committee is bringing politics to CPIC where I don't think it belongs, and will potentially reignite an issue that seems to be finally settling down after a very ugly week for our board. Should the item be added, I can speak to more to all of that. In the meantime, I don't think it's responsible, and I would ask my fellow CPIC members to ask themselves if they want to be embroiled in the politics that has taken over our board and is doing very serious harm to our children and families.
Okay. Thank you, Maria. Because we have dissent, we are not able to add it as an action item, but we can recirculate the CPIC members to see if we have 2/3 approval to add it as a discussion item. So I'll start again with Jerry.
Yeah, I'm fine with that, Jen.
Okay. I believe that. I'm just going to see if Laura has happened to join us. Laura Gallo. Okay, or Sarah Siwash. No. Okay, Maria. Back to you.
I would dissent for the same reasons.
Okay. Joel.
I'm in favor.
Tiana.
I am in favor.
Lydia.
I'm in favor to discuss it.
Sarah Furlong.
I'm in favor.
Olu. I'm not sure if Olu is with us either. I don't see his name in the list.
I don't see him online, Jen.
Okay, so I'll put him as an abstaining as well. Steve?
I'm in favor.
Okay. And I myself am fine with the discussion as well. So I believe we have 2/3. So we will add it as item number 9.2 as a discussion item. Okay, with that addition, would somebody like to make a motion to approve tonight's agenda?
I approve tonight's agenda. I'm Tiana.
Thank you, Tiana. And someone a second?
I'll second, Steve.
Thanks, Steve. Okay, the minutes were also circulated with the agenda. I hope you have all had a chance to review them. Would somebody like to make a motion to approve the minutes, please?
This is Joel. I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Okay. And someone a second, please?
I second, Lydia.
Thanks, Lydia. Okay. Before we move on to the board update, and Maria, I see you still have your hand up. Is there something else you wanted to say?
No, just a bad habit of bringing it down. Sorry.
No problem. All right, so we'll move along to the board update. Superintendent Denofa.
Thank you, Jen, and good evening, everyone. So our board update from the academic side, with the provincial stay-at-home order, our schools have pivoted to the remote learning as of April 12th. For our secondary students, everyone has moved to cohort C, and they finished their 3rd quadmester and have begun the 4th quadmester as of April 26th. For our elementary students, all of our students are learning remotely with their face-to-face teacher and have transitioned very well with the expectations set by PPM 164. So that's 225 minutes of synchronous learning for grade 1 to 8 and 180 minutes for our kindergarten program. And we have noticed a difference from when we had pivoted in January to how the learning is taking place for the students. They're definitely much more comfortable in the virtual environment right now. Our virtual school has continued without interruption. So that has been, since we had the change in learning environment at the end of March, that has continued. For any requests that have come in from families for tech and Wi-Fi, all the resources have been provided to families. And we are still, if families continue to reach out to say that they're having difficulties with the tech that was provided, or for some reason their tech has gone down, schools have been providing the tech to those families. Families who opted out from synchronous learning in January when we were remote, many of them have continued to opt out at this time and are participating in our program asynchronously. And we have had an uptake of a little bit more for asynchronous, and that is for families who are not able to support their children in the synchronous environment right now. All of our category 4 and 5 special education classroom placements have some students attending in person. At the secondary level, we have 58 secondary students attending with educational workers supporting them on site daily. In the elementary setting, we also have 118 elementary students attending regularly with support staff in place for them at their schools. This week, we are marking Catholic Education Week with the theme Nurturing Hope. All schools are doing various activities, and classroom teachers may be offering different events for class and parents to participate in throughout the week. As our system, we have our annual Walk with Jesus in a modified way taking place on Thursday, May 6th. Cardinal Collins has a Mass on Wednesday, May 5th that many schools may be participating in with their school community to mark Catholic Education Week. Bishop Crosby has shared a wonderful message for the diocese as we begin Catholic Education Week, and many of the schools have shared this through their school webpage or social media site. This week is also Mental Health Awareness Week in our schools. Together with our special education department, many resources are being shared in our school communities through the school child and youth counselors and social workers. Many of these resources are being shared with parents through the school website, weekly communication, and social media platforms. We are continuing to take in our new kindergarten registrations for September 2021, and throughout the month of May, many of the schools will be hosting their kindergarten parent orientation sessions virtually. In response to the Board of Trustee motion entitled Supporting Our Diverse Community for the special board meeting that was held on Monday, April 26, our schools have continued to ensure their commitment to ensuring all students feel welcomed, loved, and are safe in our school communities. Our position as a Catholic system has always been and will continue to be that all students and families are made in the likeness of God. They are all loved, and we will continue to embrace them with love and human dignity. All are welcome in the Halton Catholic District School Board through word, deed, and our curriculum. All of our staff are going to participate in ongoing professional development for the understanding of our 2S LGBTQ+ community. We will raise awareness through Pride Month with more information to come to our school communities. All schools will have a catalog of signage to select to display at the school and through the community. How each school moves forward will be in collaboration with their staff, students, and Catholic School Council. All schools have a Catholic School Council meeting this week or next week, and we'll just discuss this together with their council. All curriculum programs are being delivered with professionalism and care for the well-being of our students. For elementary, our literacy and numeracy skills are being further developed, and staff have been working collaboratively to meet the needs of all learners. Everything has looked very different this year, and despite the changes in the learning environment, staff have learned and adjusted to innovative ways to deliver the program. We will continue to meet our student learners where they are and deliver the program to address their needs. Above all this, all our educators are committed to our students and their spiritual growth and mental well-being as we continue to navigate the COVID-19 pandemic. This has been a challenging time for all of us, parents, staff, and students. All of us working together is going to make the ultimate difference for our students and our families. Are there any questions? Thank you, Jen.
Great. Thank you so much, Superintendent Onalfo. Next item on the agenda is the CPIC Chair update. I'm going to pass it over to my co-chair, Jerry Bergen, to speak about the correspondence received. Jerry?
All right, thanks, Jen, and hi again, everyone. So yes, some of you who tagged into the agenda package earlier in the day may have noticed some correspondence was attached. So, and this again, kind of part of CPIC's normal course of things. To be very frank, we don't receive a lot of correspondence of this nature. Well, certainly not of that nature, but of the kind that where the sender or the writer of the correspondence asked that it be shared. So it was shared originally, but retrospectively, we took it down because of the nature of the content of it. It was somewhat inflammatory. So the decision was to take it down. Nonetheless, it's been shared amongst CPIC. I believe most of the same content has gone to the Board of Trustees as well. So it's been shared appropriately and was provided really for information purposes only, as desired by the author of the correspondence. So that really is that. We're not really opening up for discussion. It was just meant to be shared as by way of information. Yes, Tiana.
Sorry, I just want to say, when I first saw it, I was a little shocked. But now that you've explained what you did, I appreciate that you didn't use censorship and instead did show us what the person had requested. So I appreciate that. So that's all I wanted to say there. Thanks.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks. Yeah. Appreciate the acknowledgement there. Yeah, Maria, go ahead.
Yeah. So I also appreciate that it was taken down. And I know we've talked about this, Jerry, but just to share with the group, and I know Director Daly's here, I have been frustrated with the board's ever-changing moving targets on publishing correspondence. So it was particularly shocking to me to see it published because, you know, the board has said we don't publish correspondence in the policy committee agenda, even if it's, you know, related to a policy on the agenda. And the rules keep changing about what's published in the board agenda. So I was really surprised to see something published here, and I would really encourage the board to move forward on a correspondence policy that sets out the parameters. Maybe it needs to include whether or not other committees publish correspondence and what are the parameters around that, so that it's fair and equitable across the board.
Yeah, fair enough, Maria. Thank you. Yeah, and again, we're learning as we go here. A bit of uncharted territory because again, we don't typically get requests to share correspondence. So no, appreciate where you're coming from. So thank you. Okay, that's all I had on that piece. Jen, back to you. Thanks.
Great. Thanks very much, Jerry. I'll move it over to Vice Chair Dort for the trustee update, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just an update here. So since we last met on April 7th, just a little bit of what's going on the board. Not much really, just one big item. At the April 20th board meeting, there was 5 delegations, 3 for and 2 against the motion on the table that is supporting our diverse school community. A special board meeting was called on April 26th, and the action item supporting our diverse school community was discussed, debated, and voted upon. So I'll just touch upon the outcome and the highlights of that motion. So that the board create a shared understanding through mandatory training for senior staff, SOs, senior managers, principals, teachers, and everyone in our system on the Catholic social teaching of loving and accompanying our students who identify as 2S LGBTQ+, and that the mandatory training, which is ensured it should be completed by the 2021-22 school year, and a progress report should be brought to trustees in January 2021. January 2022, that the board staff raise awareness around Pride Month utilizing the guidelines of the Institute for Catholic Education, and that each school be mandated to have safe space signage to ensure our students in the 2S LGBTQ+ community are supported throughout the entire school year. With these steps, we believe this will be the first steps and will help all our students be welcomed, loved, included, and cared for in our schools and in our communities. So that was what was the main gist of what's happened in the past couple of weeks. All the above items will flow through the director's office and communications into our system, and this will develop and evolve as we go along. I mentioned in the past about our board undertaking work on the multi-year strategic plan. The initial recommendations from the multi-year strategic planning steering committee on the mission, vision, and values is before the board for discussion and approval. Trustees have attended a professional development session on human rights and accommodation in Catholic education on April 22nd by constitutional lawyer Nicholas Rollo and lawyer Nadia Timoshenko. Trustees have attended the OCSTA annual general meeting on Saturday, May 1st, where voting was held for regional directors and some resolutions were put forth by trustees from various boards. That's all I have for now, Madam Chair. I will now take questions if anyone has.
Trustee Dwart Joel has his hand up.
Hi, Marvin.
Sure.
I'm gonna talk about the elephant in the room. I'm afraid because leading up to this meeting, I reached out to Burlington parents and members, and I asked for their feedback, and I wanted them to tell me what they thought of what has transpired. And I took their. I'm not going to use names because I promised them that they would remain anonymous, and I'm going to respect that promise I made to them. But I do want to pass along the consensus to you as vice chair of the board, as well as to any of the other trustees that might be listening tonight. And essentially, that consensus is that as our elected body, you have ignored and betrayed a lot of their trust. There's a lot of hurt feelings, and there's a lot of anger in the board right now. I made some notes. I'm going to skip over a lot of it because I don't want to take up too much of this meeting's time. But I do want to say this, that rather than listen to the ones that your decision would impact the most of the parents, the teachers, and the administrators, and all the students of our schools, they feel like you've ignored them. They saw that the past two meetings went into infighting and disarray, and we'll get to that later on the agenda. So I won't talk too much about that. But right now, the ones who are saving the reputation of our school system are the principals and the teachers who are posting reaffirming messages to the LGBTQ community in our school system. They've turned into the leaders on this front, and a lot of parents want to say thank you to them for stepping up to that plate. There's real wounds in the school community right now, Marvin, over the last 2 weeks that have really cut deep. I don't know how to fix that. I don't know beyond some kind of real demonstrative action on part of the entire board to bring the community back together. I hope that you'll take this to the board and you pass along that real action needs to be taken to ask for the forgiveness of a lot of this HCDSB family. I'll leave it at that, and I won't take up too much of your time, but I hope that you pass this along to the rest of the trustees. Thank you.
Thank you, Joel.
Maria?
Hi, Marvin. I don't want to take you off guard. I had a very different question, and I don't know if you're prepared to speak to it, but I know I've heard a little bit here and there about STEM initiatives, and I think there's a committee, but I don't really know much about what's going on there. And I think that's a really important topic. And I'm wondering if you have anything that you would like to share with us about that.
For sure. Yeah, thanks, Maria. That's an excellent topic. I can talk for a long time on that. So if you recollect, I've been talking at past CPIC meetings, or you may not, you're new to this, to the new CPIC committee. I've been always talking about STEM and STEM initiatives that we have embarked upon. And there was a motion a year and a half back, I guess, to start working on STEM initiatives for elementary as well as secondary. And a committee was struck, and Superintendent Kroll is heading the senior staff on that committee. And we have an amazing collection of teachers who have volunteered to all the staff. They are on fire. And you should. They have come out with some recommendations which will be presented to the board meeting. I'm not sure if it's the one tomorrow, but yeah. So it's going on great, and I'm so touched by the fire and the passion that is within our staff, principals, administrators, and we really want to start on this initiative. You will see something happening from the beginning of next academic year. and it's going to be for elementary as well as secondary students.
So there should be something on an agenda soon, a board agenda about that.
Yes, there's going to be a report coming out with
Okay.
some recommendations, and yeah, there's great participation from staff in STEM.
That's great. My STEM student has graduated, but I still think it's a great initiative. My remaining one is more on the politics side, so
Yeah.
very tough. But anyways, thank you very much for that.
Thanks.
Are there any other questions for Vice Chair Dwart? Great, thank you very much, Marvin.
Thank you.
We'll move along to our standing items. I'll ask Denise to give us an OAPSI update, please.
Thank you. So just to start with, I know I wasn't able to attend. I sent my regrets for the last CPIC meeting because OAPSI Halton was hosting their first, I guess, meeting of OAPSI reps and OAPSI itself. It was a good meeting. Some highlights were that Ann Jamieson of ICE shared 4 ways that parents could use to find some peace to help nurture their spiritual life. Our executive director, Annalisa Crudo-Perry, presented a PowerPoint on OAPSI and its partners and the organizational structure and roles that reps play. And we finished off with a sharing session of thoughts and ideas and initiatives amongst our Halton reps. So it was a really great first meeting for Halton OAPSI, and Annalisa and I have been talking along with the rest of the executive and the other directors on the board for the planning of further meetings and communication with OAPSI events. So that was a success. Other pieces that are important for OAPSI in general is on April 1st, I had the opportunity to represent OAPSI at a roundtable discussion hosted by the minister on supporting the implementation of the de-streamed grade 9 math program. With a focus on success at the classroom individualized student levels and training and resources necessary to build anti-discrimination and anti-racism cultures in schools. I've also been invited to sit on a feedback, not necessarily a roundtable discussion, but a feedback survey that OAPSI, again, when we do these things, there's representatives from the board of directors that sit on different invites. This other one is on the review of the civics, I believe, course. So 3 of us are sitting on that, and we'll write a report, which then OAPSI will feed back to the ministry. I sent out to our OAPSI reps not too long ago the opportunity to participate in a thought exchange. And this is through the Ministry of Ed on a provincial review of the additional qualification course that's in progress of being put together on an inclusive classroom. So I did send that out to our OAPSI reps to participate in that thought exchange if they wish to. And so that was done as well. I'm just going back through this, sorry, I've got all these different things going on. The Parent for Parent Press, I know, was sent out. Thank you again to the board and Andrea for sending that out. One of the things that I like to highlight on that particular Parent for Parent Press is that based on our OAPSI virtual meeting on the 7th of April, I had some conversations with a variety of people involved in the IDARE, Inclusion, Diversity, Anti-Racism, and Equity Committee through Queen of Heaven. Some great communication from all the principal, vice principal, and everyone involved. And so when I had my board of directors meeting on April the 24th, I presented this as well. And it was then included in the Parent for Parent Press. So it's nice to see our Halton Catholic District School Board in there and highlighted. So it's one of my initiatives to continue to support Halton Catholic District School Board in any way that I can through OAPSI, and it was a nice addition for that. There will also be, if you're reading the Parent for Parent Press that was sent out, I encourage you also to look that OAPSE will be holding their 82nd annual conference. Unfortunately, I wish it was in person because they're great in person, but we can't. Obviously, it's virtually. It'll be held on May 14th and 15th. And there are a lot of different speakers that are included. If you go to the OAPSE website, you will see that. I will be sending out a specific newsletter to OAPSE reps as well about this and giving them sort of a summary of updates. The speakers will include His Eminence Cardinal Collins, amongst others. And one of the highlights also in that particular virtual conference is one of our Halton Catholic District School Board parents will be receiving an honorary OAPSE Lifetime Award for their support of Catholic education, their volunteerism, and their passion to contributing and supporting OAPSE. So that will be another nice recognition of us in the Halton Catholic District School Board. And I believe that is it for me.
That's great. Thanks very much, Denise. Does anyone have any questions for Denise? I don't see any, so we will move on to the subcommittee updates. Lydia, do you have any update on the School Council Support Committee?
Unfortunately, the team wasn't able to provide the feedback I committed last meeting. So I just got a couple of the members getting back to me with some feedback, but it hasn't been completed yet. So I hope that now, since most of us are here in the meeting, they will look into, get back to me, let's say by the end of the week, and I can prepare the draft and send it to Jerry. So that's from me tonight.
Thanks very much, Lydia. And from our Parent Community Engagement Committee, Joel.
Yes, we do have an update, but I am going to defer to Sarah Furlong because she has been doing a lot of the legwork on this, and she's the one who has information on a guest speaker for CPIC. So Sarah, I'm going to hand it off to you.
Hello, everybody. So yes, I have been looking into a speaker that I think would be of great interest to parents in the board. She is a disability activist who is disabled. So it really goes with an anti-ableist mindset of nothing about us without us. So hearing from somebody who is from the disabled community about how to help children be anti-ableist, how to raise children that view everybody with respect, and how to talk to different disabled people. So I will send a link to her page that you can check her out. She's also a speech language pathologist, so she does have the professional side as well, but I thought it would be a very interesting topic as we are looking at many reckonings of how we treat different people. Anti-ableism is one we don't hear enough about, and I think it would be of great use for parents to hear more about that from somebody within the community.
Great. And Sarah, have you had a chance to reach out to this speaker yet to see if she has any availability between now and the end of June?
She does have availability, and I do have her rates as well. So if there's interest there, I can share all the specifics with you, and we can go from there to get her booked to do a live talk. And then we can also leave it up on the YouTube channel for increments of time, depending on the interest in how long we want to have it up, as it's pay by month. And yes, that's how it would work, either a 30-minute or an hour-long session.
Right. Okay, maybe Sarah, you can disseminate that to the CPIC members, and Jerry and I will follow up and ask for feedback from everybody, perhaps within the next week or so we can
perfect
either get that booked or move on.
Yep, I'll put an email together and send it out.
Thank you so much, Sarah.
You're welcome.
All right, and the bylaw subcommittee, Steve.
I will have to defer to either Jerry or yourself, since I was unable to attend the last meeting.
Yeah, fair enough, Steve. So bylaw subcommittee continues its work. We, of course, a short time ago, approved an updated version of our bylaw document. So we've got a much better place to work from. And we're now setting about the work of working through each bylaw, kind of taking one each one in turn to review, assess, and we'll be coming back to the committee with our recommendations for future changes to those bylaws. So the work continues. We'll endeavor. We're still some time left in this year. Of course, we'll be meeting again, and we'll see what we can accomplish before the year's out, and then prioritize things for the start of next year.
Maria, do you have your hand up?
Yeah, I just wanted to bring, I guess, something to everyone's attention. I'm not sure. I think this is maybe the best place to do so. But as you know, I think we approved the revised bylaws in our last meeting. And the intention of that was not to make any substantive changes, but it was a cleanup of the document. And I take responsibility for not catching this in the review, but I feel that there was one change made that was somewhat substantive, in that the previous bylaws, which were consistent with the school board procedure, included the OAPSI rep and the DDRE rep as community representatives. And the regulation does bestow voting rights on community representatives. I didn't notice that when the document was updated that those were changed to being additional representatives and not community representatives. So I feel that that's a bigger change than maybe was proposed. So I don't know where that leaves us. I know that we've had some conversations outside of this bigger group about how to address that going forward, but I just thought that it was incumbent upon me to bring that to the committee's attention.
Thanks, Maria. I also sat on that committee, and I was aware, from the way that the board has practiced in the past, I should say the CPIC has practiced in the past, those members have never been able to vote. So in my mind, it was cleaning up what has been past practice. But that is definitely something we can continue to discuss, either through our bylaw subcommittee or at a future meeting. Maria, do you have something? Jerry, I see your hand up there too.
Oh.
Yeah, I agree, Jen. I think I don't think we're done with it. Certainly, I think it's worthy to go back and review. I mean, yeah, as you rightly said, past practice was that those are voting positions, and we're not going to get into the details of that now. Not on the agenda. Number one, and number two, it requires a more fulsome conversation. So definitely we'll take that offline and circle back and update the committee in due course.
Thanks, Jerry. Okay, moving on to CPIC representation on board committees. Lydia, do you have an update from the Mental Health Committee?
The meeting was supposed to happen in April was postponed for end of May. So I'm looking forward to attending the meeting, and hopefully I will have the report for our next meeting.
Great, thanks, Lydia.
Thank you.
Sarah, has there been any meetings from the Bullying Prevention Committee?
I had sent the revised documents to the CPIC email, the final document that came out of the meetings, to be sent to everybody. I don't think it's gone out yet, but there is a new bullying prevention document that everyone can take a look at and see if they have any comments.
Okay, thanks, Sarah. I'll look into that and make sure that gets distributed. Walk with Jesus. Tiana, do you have an update for that committee?
Yes, I do. Just 1 second, just changing my screen colors here. Okay, so Walk with Jesus will be this week on Thursday, May 6th. It will be fully virtual. What the plan is done on the morning of May 6th. Anyone can log into the or visit the Halton Catholic District School Board website, and they will find the link to the YouTube channel that will have the presentation. It will start at 10 a.m. There will be liturgy, some singing, reflections, and there'll be a cross-making activity. What they're saying is that with the online schooling, the elementary level teachers will probably be the ones to log in and share the screen with the classrooms. At the high school level, they're leaving it up to the individual students to log in and join the virtual event. For the actual walk, because it is virtual and due to COVID, they're asking that families celebrate the walk together at any time during the day on May 6th. Go ahead out with a walk with your family, do your reflections, and take some photos, and hashtag HCWWJ, share those photos so that other people can share your reflections and your walk. And that's what they're asking. So I think that's about all I have on that.
That's great. Thanks so much, Tiana. I'm just going to see. Joel, do you have your hand up?
Yes, I do. Tiana, if you could possibly just email that to me like you did the previous update for the Walk with Jesus, I can share it on the on CPIC's social media profiles as well. Thanks.
Will do. I'll get that to you tonight.
Great. And for the Homeschool Parish Partnership, I sit on that committee and we have not met since our last meeting, so I don't have any updates for that committee. Moving on to item 8 on our agenda, the upcoming council chair meeting in about 2.5 weeks. We've previously suggested some of these ideas, the math de-streaming presentation. We have somebody lined up to come and speak about the de-streaming program, or curriculum, I should say, how it's going to be, how it will be, what it will look like next year. Virtual school best practices. We have a guest speaker lined up to speak about that as well. As Denise alluded to, we are going to have somebody do a presentation on IDARE to speak about what it is and how they've gotten it up and running in their schools, and how their schools who want to get involved, how they can start something similar. And we've also spoken about doing best practices for school councils. So what we were thinking is doing a breakout room session where by family of schools, we can talk about best practices. And this information, our school support of school council subcommittee can use to build its best practices handbook or list that it's going to put together. We're also hoping to, at that meeting, welcome the new CPIC members for next year. So we should have those results in by then. Just wanted to share these ideas with everybody and see if anybody else had any other ideas that they wanted to table for the Council of Chairs meeting, or any concerns with anything that has been suggested. Maria.
So I think those are all great ideas. So are you thinking that you're going to be able to do all of that in the meeting? It seems like a lot, but it's great.
It is a lot. They all will be about 20 minutes or less.
Okay. And I'm just curious who is doing the presentation on the de-streaming. I actually attended the same roundtable consultation as Denise. I don't know if she saw my name there, but we were in different breakout groups. And my understanding was the curriculum hadn't been released.
It's not been released, you're right.
Yeah.
But we're hoping it will be by the time the meeting comes.
Okay, and so who's doing the presentation? Is it someone from the ministry?
I'll turn it over. Nancy, who's doing that presentation?
Thanks, Jen. We will go to our curriculum department. Christy Davidson and Sita have done the presentation for board staff. So we're looking to do a shortened version for parents. And hopefully we will have the curriculum by this point. If not, then we'll give you as much information that we have at that time.
Okay, that's great. Thank you.
Does anybody else have any thoughts they want to share? Questions, concerns? Great. Okay, then we will put together and finalize that agenda and get it sent out a week prior to that meeting. Discussion items. The first item on our list tonight is the parent concerns regarding board meeting conduct. I'm going to turn this over to Jerry.
All right, thanks, Jen. So yeah, this folks, I mean, this is a difficult one, and I mean, we've got trustees on this call. I mean, Marvin, of course, sits on our committee. So first off, I want to say this is being raised, you know, and there's with all due respect to our trustees and the roles that they play, often difficult and challenging roles that they play. So it's being raised in the spirit of sharing the parent voice. I think, you know, a lot of our trustees have heard it full on, but nonetheless, as the voice of the parents at the board level, as the Catholic Parent Involvement Committee, you know, I felt it was incumbent upon us to raise this at this table and afford an opportunity to our members, who of course represent the board from corner to corner to corner across the region, an opportunity to share their own observations, the feedback that they've heard from folks in their part of the region, and just again to bring it to this table so that it's shared from this perspective as well. This is not about singling out any one trustee, any one specific instance of conduct that we might consider to be unbecoming of our board. Rather, to provide directionally what it is we're hearing out there, the good, the bad, the ugly, but doing it in a respectful way. So I'm happy to start, and then of course I'm looking to my fellow committee members to share their own observations and feedback as well. Marvin, yeah, go ahead before I start, please.
Do you want me to go first or do you want me to go last, Jerry? I think I can wait.
I'd appreciate if you take it all in first.
Okay.
Yeah, so, I didn't know if you had something to say up front, but no, I'd appreciate it if you like the other your fellow trustees would simply take it in.
Yeah.
And by all means, you're part of this committee, and I welcome your comments at the end.
So it is hard, as you said, to put it across, but nevertheless, you got to say what you got to say, right? So that's fine and perfectly fine. Yeah. I just want to add one thing is. Trustees are basically governed by the Trustee Code of Conduct policy, and trustees may or may not have broken the Code of Conduct. That's not for discussion right now, but basically trustees are governed by that. Again, the discussions that happen around the table are using the tools available to them, and that's our bylaws and Robert Rules of Order, and that could be seen in the best interest of ratepayers. Now, whether that's the best or not, it's up for discussion, debate. And I believe personally that everyone is to be given the benefit of doubt, whether people are discussing in good faith or bad faith, you know, so I wouldn't. Okay.
Yeah, Marvin, sorry. I'm going to stop you there because I'm sorry, I didn't make myself clear. I was preferring you to go at the end.
Oh, yeah.
But okay, I hear where you're coming from.
Okay.
Please, yeah, and like I said, this is we're not here to attack, to point fingers. Rather, again, to elevate the parent voice and make sure it's shared and heard at this table. So yeah, I appreciate you taking it along with your peers.
Sure, I'll take it.
Okay. Thanks, Marvin.
No problem.
All right.
Thanks.
Okay, so like I said, I certainly don't mind starting. I mean, it's been for some time now. This this board has been in place for going on 3 years now, And I think this is something, it's you know, a pattern of behavior that's developed over time. So it's not any one time or one meeting or one instance. What I'm hearing from parents is that they're disillusioned with the board of trustees, their behavior, inability to function well at the table, to advance the agenda, to simply cooperate. So it's these things, and I mean, again, it's backed up by several instances of specifics, which again I'm not going to get into here. And we've received a number of emails, both, you know, kind of personal email, as well as into the CPIC inbox, and as well, of course, in the social media realm as well. So I mean, obviously a little bit less of a formal channel, but nonetheless, it's out there and it's being talked about, and that's why we wanted to raise it here today. So I mean, that's the general sentiment that I've been hearing and seeing and wanted to share. And again, I want to call upon my fellow committee members to share their own. Yeah, I will say too, I should pause, I'm sorry. There are many instances of praise for our trustees as well. You know, and you know, those tend to be more kind of individual, you know, and I've seen praise, I think, almost for every single trustee. So it's just, for me, it's how do we cut through that? Because I think we know, and I personally believe, but you know, they're all good people. You're all good people. But how do we translate that into, you know, a well-functioning, harmonious, you know, operation and well-run board? I don't know the answer to that, but that's the sentiment that I've gathered. So I'll stop talking. Who would anyone else like to raise their own feedback? Yeah, Maria, thanks.
So I guess I have a couple of questions, and then I have my own feedback to share. But I guess I'm wondering what the purpose of this is on the agenda. It's a discussion item, not an action item, and I'm not really sure what action we could take. As Marvin mentioned, you know, trustees are self-governing through the code of conduct. So, you know, I'm not sure what the hopeful outcome is of this discussion.
Sure, fair enough, Maria. Like, I think it's just, again, as an advocate to the board for our parents and our school communities, and just with the amount of talk and you know, feedback I personally that I've heard, observed, you know, I think it's incumbent upon us to have this discussion. What can we do about it? I think that's for us to discuss as well. I mean, of course, we don't affect you know, policy or procedure. We are not the board. However, we are meant to be a voice. So what form that voice takes, I don't know. And you know, whether that's, you know, I mean, number one, we're having this discussion. That may in and of itself be enough. Is it a letter? Do we compose something and address it to the board? You know, is it something else? I don't know, Maria. I don't necessarily have the answer, but rather wanted to have this tabled and have the discussion.
Okay, so I do have some feedback.
Great.
If I can add with that.
Yeah, nice.
So again, not to belabor the point, but I think that this is outside of our mandate, and I think it's bringing politics to our committee, which I have concerns about. But given that it's on our committee, and as you mentioned, I think this board has been dysfunctional for some time, and it's not just one person who's responsible for that. I think the parliamentarian summed it up really well in one of the meetings when he said, I don't remember his exact words, but he said, it's not just the chair that has responsibility for an efficient meeting. And I think that's really true. It's a collective effort. I know you said we're not targeting anybody specifically, but there were 2 emails that were shared with us that mentioned certain trustees. I believe there were other emails that received that haven't been shared with us. But this one meeting and the behavior in that's really the tip of the iceberg, in my opinion. I follow board meetings very closely, and I have for some time. There have been other complaints raised about the board that frankly were ignored and dismissed, and in some cases were turned on the complainant. I've heard from parents who were directly targeted and threatened after writing correspondence or delegated to the board. And they've raised legitimate and serious concerns about how they were treated by trustees as delegates. That's never been brought to CPIC, although we represent parents. And in perhaps one of the most shocking cases, a parent delegate had their livelihood threatened, and they're still dealing with that. They've had to secure legal counsel because of a delegation they made to the board. And they faced interrogating questions, not questions of clarification, which is what it's supposed to be. And their professional ethics were called into question. And they're actually not even a parent anymore because they did pull their children from the board. When they raised those concerns with the director, they were told that trustees are self-governing through the code of conduct, and there was nothing more the board could do. So as a result of this, parents are afraid to delegate or even write correspondence. So where's a safe space for parents that want to bring their concerns forth and not be attacked? So there's no question there's issues with the board meetings and trustee behavior. I'm not saying there isn't. But I am more concerned with parents being put at risk, some at pretty serious risk as a result of how they're treated by trustees. Trustees are elected officials. They've chosen to put themselves in the spotlight, and I believe the electorate will judge their behavior in the next election. But I want to know what we're doing to protect parents to ensure they can bring forth issues of concern without facing repercussions. And, again, it is parents that we're representing here.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough, Maria. I mean, there's some very serious stuff in everything you said there. As for any communications that come in through the CPIC email, yeah, the ones that were received further in advance were shared. Those that asked for it to be shared with the CPIC committee. Others get into very, very specific instances, and again, calling out individuals. They've been escalated as appropriate and responded to. So yeah, not everything has been shared, but those that asked for it to be shared, they certainly have been. And thanks for sharing your observations and input. Thank you. Joel.
Yeah, I kind of want to just touch upon what Maria just said, that parents, as I said at the start, I reached out to some parents that said, give me your feedback on this. And I mean, I'll respect your decision, Jerry, not to name names, but I will say this: those parents did not. Those parents did name names, and to the point where they were talking to me about calling for resignations of trustee members. It's I don't know. We might not have any power to issue a disciplinary measure to the trustees, but there should be some way that let them know that the people are watching this. They are watching their conduct. The fact that, and this is my personal note on this, the fact that they had to hire a parliamentarian to kind of referee the trustee meetings is kind of a telling point unto itself. I don't know of any other school board that the trustees had to hire a parliamentarian to sit in on every meeting to referee essentially the board. Parents are the trustees might think, oh, nobody's paying attention to us, nobody noticed. They are. The parents have noticed, and parents are upset. And as Maria pointed out, some parents was talking well, TCASB, but Toronto Catholic is one of the largest boards in the province. We're relatively small. That's true too. As Maria was saying, that the one parent who pulled their children from the board, there are parents who are seriously considering pulling their children from this board. Not necessarily over what happened in the last 2 weeks, but just they're getting fed up that decisions aren't being made. I mean, if you think about it, we had 2 full meetings, and only one decision was made. That's a chance for two times you had a chance to go through an agenda to pass, approval of monies and whatnot, and it did not happen. So I don't know if maybe what we can do, but people are paying attention.
Yeah, thanks, Joel, for your very thoughtful response, and I thank you for soliciting the input from folks in Burlington, because it's meaningful. And yeah, you actually prompted an additional thought I had, and that is actually no, sorry, I'll come back to it. Maria.
I just wanted to comment on one piece that Joel touched on about parents pulling their children. So I do think it's pretty serious if someone actually, pulls their children because, they're facing legal challenges. But and again, and I'm not trying to justify any behavior or not. That's not my point at all. But parents threaten to pull their board all the time. I'm sure staff and trustees can attest to that. So when they were going to close and amalgamate schools, parents were going to transfer their kids. French immersion, that's always something that comes up, that parents are going to transfer to the public board because of better French immersion programming. We know that parents transfer their children after elementary because of lack of gifted programming in secondary schools. These are all things that have come forward. So I guess what I'm struggling with is, and again, this is why I see it as political, because none of this has ever come to us, right? French immersion's been a big ongoing debate. I don't know that that's come to CPIC, not since I've been on, as anything to advise the board on. So, I feel that it's coming to us now because, there's a group that's very upset and looking for every kind of platform to make their statement. So that's where kind of my concern.
Okay, I hear you, Maria, and you and I talked offline about this, and I told you that's not where it's not coming from there. And again, the timing perhaps, obviously it seems coincidental, but no, that's not what prompted this to be on the agenda, just to set that straight. So has the pride issue shone a light on it? Sure it has, because more and more parents are paying attention and watching the meetings. So sure, it's amped up for sure as a result of that, but it's not because of that we're discussing it. Sarah.
So I think to that point, sort of the important thing maybe to notice is the reason that all these parents did get involved was because this wasn't a political thing, it was a human rights issue. And I think that's why a lot of parents who kind of quietly let things go by spoke up and felt strongly about this particular one, because this is an issue of children feeling safe and children feeling respected and schools feeling like a safe space for everybody. And I think that's why a lot of people, like I've heard from a number of parents who just feel that the trustees no longer have their voice in mind. And I think that's why this came to a head, and not because it's a political issue, because it's a human rights issue. And the concern is that the board isn't reflecting the feelings of the larger parent community.
All right. Thank you, Sarah. Appreciate those additional comments. But again, just to be clear, the demarcation between the two issues, again, one has kind of exacerbated the other, but they're distinct. Okay, and suggestion here from Steve, maybe could we write a letter on behalf of CPIC that can be shared with the Board of Trustees. I'd certainly support that, Steve. Be curious as to know what the other committee members think of that. Okay, so that's Joel, second that. Thanks, Joel. Tiana, I see your hand up. Did you want to say something, or are you just lending support to that idea of writing a letter?
I was just lending support to write the letter.
Okay. And Laura as well. Okay, Laura. All right, thank you. Yeah, Maria, I see your hand up again.
Yeah, so I was just going to say, if we do write a letter, back to my points that I raised, I hope that the way parents are treated by trustees will be part of that.
Sure. I mean, well, we can collaborate on the composition of the letter, and we'll certainly be thoughtful about it and make sure that it reflects the will of the committee, and which of course is underpinned by what our parents are expressing. So absolutely. Laura.
Hi, thanks, Jerry. Just a quick comment. You know, I listened in on both of the board meetings, and it's not just about the subject matter that was tabled. I think at the end of the day, it's more about the conduct of the members, and it was just absolutely appalling. So, you know, as a CPIC committee, I think it's important. It's an important discussion as we represent the parents. So I appreciate that it's been tabled tonight, because, you know, we have to be armed with information to be able to share back to parents, because that's what we're here for. We're here to represent the parents. So I think at the end of the day, you know, the conduct of the trustees needs to be addressed, and, you know, some serious action needs to be taken. So what I would like to see is some feedback coming back to the CPIC committee, so we're armed with some information to be able to respond to parents with the right messaging, you know, give them some updates. So I think we need to be looped in, you know, regularly, or at least with the right information to be able to respond to parents. I don't think we should all be putting in our own, you know, personal thoughts per se, unless we want to, but, you know, just some very pointed comments that we could share with parents. I think it's important.
Okay, no, fair comment, Laura. Yeah, I hope it generates a dialogue of sorts. You know, I think that's hopefully part of a pathway forward. So yeah, no, thanks, Laura. Points well made. Joel.
Sorry, to Laura's point that she just made. As you know, I did solicit feedback from parents. And I actually did make notes of the responses that I received. They are anonymous, so no names are attached to them, and there's no identifying features in terms of schools that their children attend or anything of that nature. If the committee's okay with it, I would send my notes to everyone on the committee, just so they might have a frame of reference in terms of what. They were kind of the most poignant points of the correspondence that I received from some of the parents, and that I was just going to read into the record tonight. But I want to respect your decision, Jerry, not to name names, because some of these points they do name names. There's some passion behind it. I won't bog down too much of the time. Some of them are quite lengthy, but if the committee wants it, I would email the copy of what I wrote to everyone, so you might have at least a point of view and some reference to inform your decision on this. That is, if everyone's okay with that.
Thanks, Joel. I mean, I think what I would say to that is I think first and foremost, we need to respect people's privacy. So if someone has expressly said, you know, I don't want to be named or don't want to be further shared, I think we need to obviously respect that. But if they've shared it with you with the intent that you share it at this table, then I would say that's fair that be shared.
I can say, Jerry, that I actually do have in writing from these parents permission to share the exact excerpts that I was going to share. I have their permission in writing to share it with the committee. Now, rather than basically what I'm saying is, rather than do it orally, I'm just going to send you my notes in a Word document. It's basically, I'm just changing the format is all I'm doing.
Yeah, great. And then if you send it to the CPIC email box, that's the best and safest place for it.
Okay.
And then we'll work with it from there. Okay, thanks, Joel. Okay, so last couple. I am conscious of time. It's 8:15. Laura, your hand's up from before, or new comment?
Oh, sorry, Jerry, I didn't put it down. I'm good. Thanks.
No worries. And Maria, same.
Well, I think Joel addressed it, but I was just going to say, I think rather than simply having consent, I think it's good to have consent to share as opposed to just not having consent not to share it. You know what I mean? But I think Joel said he had it, so that's fine.
Yeah, exactly. I think depending on each correspondence, how it's come in and how it's directed, kind of dictates how much we bubble up further or we just acknowledge it. So it's just depending how it came in and what the wishes were of the folks that wrote it. Okay. Sorry, Laura, can we add Joel's parents' comments with the meeting minutes? Well, let's take that offline. We'll have to decide on the appropriateness of that. I don't know if that would make it in. No, just thinking about it, I don't think that belongs in the minutes per se. It's not official correspondence to the meeting. Okay. Yeah. No, thanks, Laura. Appreciate it. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Don't see any more hands up. And again, thank you everyone. It's obviously not an easy thing to talk about. I mean, whenever you have to bring criticism to a body like our board of trustees, it's not an easy thing. And for our trustees on the line, again, this is done with utmost respect that we can in a tough situation, and again out of a desire not to. Obviously not to make things worse, but rather try to be the facilitators of change and improvement. I mean, we all can improve in what we do in our various roles in our lives, and this is just an endeavor to try and do that. So I hope it's taken as such. This is and just taken in a positive possible way that we can. So thank you. Okay, I'll end it there, Jen. Thank you, and thanks again for everyone's contributions.
Thank you, Jerry, for leading a really difficult discussion in a very thoughtful and respectful way. The last item on our agenda tonight is 9.2, School Council Support of Pride Events. Joel, since you added this to the agenda, would you like to kick off the discussion?
Sure, Jen. So most of you should have received an email, I think, from Jerry and Jen with a Word document saying motion to support school council's Pride events. So surprise, surprise, I was the author of that. Sorry, should I read this directly into the record, Jen, or is this a discussion?
It's just a discussion at this point.
Okay, so this came out of a kind of a genesis of discussion of a number of school council members of various school councils in Burlington who said they wanted to do some kind of Pride event, but they wanted to know if it was okay with CPIC. I didn't have an answer for them, but I thought I'd bring it to the committee here so we could have a motion to show our support for the LGBTQ plus community that exists within the school. I purposely worded the motion so that we're not forcing any school council to host a Pride event or anything of the like. This is merely saying that if a school council wished to do some kind of Spirit Day, Pride themed Spirit Day, that we would say basically good for you, and we'll support them and encourage them to do so. We're also not going to chastise any school that does not do it. It would entirely be up to a school council to make that decision. But I thought it would provide a little bit of clarity for the school councils that are out there who are asking us for that clarity. So that's kind of where this came from. I'm open to any questions that some people might have about this.
Tiana has her hand up.
Hi. I just want, Joel, thanks for bringing that forward. And I want to say that I had the same asked of me of school councils as well. Can we have our own Pride Day, Spirit Days? And so this, I think, is something that we do have to talk about so that we can give, what do I want to say? What's the word I'm looking for? Consistent feedback to the school councils to know, like, is it okay to do one? Is it not? And will there be backlash? Will there not be? How do we deal with parents that don't want it, but it's council that does want it? So that type of thing. I think this is a very important topic that we're going to have to deal with.
Jerry?
Yeah, thanks, Jen. So Joel, just with what we've heard and seen from the board, and I'm talking now more about the staff side of the board, the administration side, and some of the comments from Nancy earlier on as to what they're endeavoring to do to work with the schools, work with the school admin and school councils. How far in your mind does that go to close the gap? Because I mean we've seen it in social media. All the schools are posting pride related messages, inclusion related messages. So I'm just curious in your mind, how far does that go to help address what you wanted to accomplish with the motion in the first place?
I think it just provides clarity to school councils. I understand that. I understand the board is doing a part in terms of training and equity and whatnot, but there are. I mean, our realm of expertise, I guess, if you want to call it or whatever, is the school councils. I mean, that we hold council of chairs meetings to discuss how to be effective school councils. I view this motion as just as complementary to the board's actions. I view it as complementary to what the staff are doing. I think that there are parents who want to take action on this, and they just want a little bit of clarity in terms of what their school councils can do. I don't see this as confrontational or detrimental to any way. I think it's just complementary, and it adds a little bit of clarity and clarification for school councils in terms of what can they do to support LGBTQ plus students.
Steve had his hand up.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about like school council will have to work with school administrators to get whatever their message is, and I'm not sure. And maybe that would put the principals in an awkward situation with the directive of the board versus what the school council wants to do. I think there really need to be a conversation on that. So that's I don't see the school council doing something on their own without the knowledge of the principal or the school administration. So I think that conversation needs to take place.
Can I just say respond to Steve on that one? This actually came out of that conversation. There was a parent of a school council who came to me and said that her principal wanted to do it, but the principal in question needed clarification if the school council was permitted to do it, and they wanted to know what CPIC would say about it. So this is kind of where this entire motion, kind of the genesis of that of this motion came out of that discussion with a school council member.
And Maria has her hand up next.
Yes, so I'm going to touch on, I guess, a couple of things that have been mentioned. So I guess when I first saw the motion, I was having trouble understanding the purpose of it because the board's motion already directs staff to raise awareness of Pride Month and mandating safe space signage. And in the week since the motion was passed, schools and teachers and administrators specifically have come out strongly to speak up about the support that they have for their 2S LGBTQ plus students. I really appreciated the update that Superintendent Donalfo gave us, and she did share a lot of things that are being done at the board level, and part of that was that it would be discussed with school councils this week as to what each school would do, but sort of it sounded to me like there was some options kind of being that there was some, maybe Trustee Superintendent Denolfo can reiterate, but it sounded to me like they were going to kind of be given some options so that there would be sort of consistency across the board. I feel this is best managed at the board staff level. That makes a lot more sense to me. I don't know why principals would be looking to CPIC for approval. They should be looking to their superintendent for that and or the director, I would think. Yeah, I really don't see what this motion does. We're not voting on the motion, but if we were to come back as a motion, I don't see what it does. And again, our focus is parent engagement. I don't think it's to further the causes the parents are already engaged about. I think we should be trying to get parents engaged in areas where they're not already engaged. And again, maybe people aren't liking this, but I see it as political, because I know there's a group that's really unhappy with the outcome, and that's fine. That's their right, and they're questioning the feedback that trustees received, and they're looking for platforms to show support for the original motion that was defeated, I guess. And I don't want CPIC. I don't think CPIC should be another platform for that. Again, we're coming. It's been an ugly week. I feel like it's starting to quiet down. And my suggestion would be to let staff is here. They're listening. To let staff kind of take it away and give that direction to principals, and then each individual school can have that conversation with the school council. And Joel mentioned that nobody would be outed if they didn't sponsor an event, but I will say I have seen a Facebook post that was shortly after the motion was passed that literally said it was naming and shaming the schools that had not yet posted a sufficiently supportive message for 2S LGBTQ plus students. So I do believe that will happen if a motion like this gets passed and not schools don't embrace what's in the motion. So my recommendation would be to leave it with staff to deal with it appropriately.
Thanks, Maria. Joel, did you have something you want to say?
No, I'll. This is more just to. I'll pass on this
Okay.
replying to that now. Let somebody else speak.
Marvin's up next.
Thank you. I agree with Steve and what Maria said for the sake of consistency. We have the motion which is handed over to Director Daly to execute a law, and it'll go down to his SOs and principals, and then it'll filter down to the school councils, and so that discussion will be held that way. I'm really concerned at the mandate, as Maria pointed out, of CPIC is to increase parent engagement. I'm not sure where we are going with this, but I'd like to ask Superintendent Denolfo and Director Daly to talk about what their plan was to implement that motion, give some more idea, and see whether we really need this motion. After all, I'm thinking that CPIC is an advisory group, and putting motions which might conflict with the motion which has been approved by the Board of Trustees might be a problem. So Superintendent Denolfo, if you would like to answer this.
Sure, thank you, Marvin. So just as I said, our communication with our principals last week, and conversations started on, I would say, on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and on Friday together as a whole group of our administrators. All the administrators want to embrace what the motion is and also want to engage their parent community. So they knew that they needed direction from the board, and the board has given direction, and under the advisement through Director Daly, what are our next steps? And that's what I outlined to you today. All of them are going to bring this back to a discussion with their Catholic School Council this week or next week. So together as a Catholic Schools Council, you will decide how you're going to embrace Pride Month in the month of June in your school community. We're not going to mandate that every school does it a specific way, because it has to be reflective of where that school is at and maybe some of the things that they've already started to do throughout the year. And then we have the secondary level and the elementary level. So know that something's coming from each of the schools, but they're going to do it in collaboration. The way I spoke about the signage, there's going to be a catalog of signage where the schools can select what's the most appropriate signage that they will have in their school. And some of the schools may be submitting some of that, what that look will be. Okay, so it's just really, last week the motion came down. Everybody put their heads together how we move forward with that motion, but it's all in collaboration with all of the schools together with their parents and their students. Director Daly, I don't know if you want to add to some of that.
Just a follow up, Nancy.
Sure,
so
Trustee.
You talked about the schools and the principals discussing with SOs and Director Daly. What about the school councils? Will they be supported adequately by the principals and vice principals?
Absolutely, they're going to work in collaboration. So, and that's the goal of it, is to do it collaboratively. They know that there's a voice in the parents for what they want it to look like for their school community. And so how does that look? And I think that's with all our decisions at the school level. It's in collaboration with school councils. How do we move forward? And so if they need support, they could ask CPIC for some support. They could ask the superintendents for it. We're all here to work together through this.
Thank you.
Okay, Joel.
Yeah. Okay. So you gave me a lot there to unwrap on this one. But my question is pretty much a simple one. So how does this motion? How does the proposed motion take away from anything that you're planning? Because here's the thing, the school councils are planning this week what they want to do in terms of June, and some of them are planning. This is it. They're meeting just this one time this week, and they may not be meeting again. Everything you said is fine with me. I like it. I'm just wondering how this motion conflicts with the board's plan of action. Nancy, is basically my question to you.
Joel, and are you speaking to the motion that you were bringing to CPIC or the board's motion?
Sorry, the motion that I'm bringing to CPIC now. I'm curious to know, how do they see it? How do you see it being in opposition to the board's plan of action?
I don't see what you were bringing forward as an opposition. What I would just comment is maybe the spirit it was trying to come through CPIC, be it not following sort of how our meeting agendas are set and how we collaborate on the discussion items. Like we didn't even have an opportunity to discuss it as a group of CPIC. So I think that how it's been tabled tonight has given the spirit of CPIC to have that conversation that we really have maintained this year when we're discussing things. Okay.
I respect that, Nancy, and you are right on that front. If I could speak to my mentality in terms of why I brought it forward, I felt that there were mitigating circumstances surrounding this, namely that there are school councils meeting this week, and it's their final meeting for the week, and for the school year, wanting clarification or a plan of action going forward. By the time after the decision was made on the the Monday night, the clock was ticking. By the time I heard back from other parents, this was where we were at. So I understand this is definitely not normal, and it is not a regular course of action. And I do respect that. This wasn't meant to be confrontational. It wasn't meant to be a gotcha moment. This was more meant just sort of a spirit of expediency, and that people were asking, we want to know, because we're meeting, like in some cases, tomorrow. That's all. If the board is going to be doing this, I would urge you get this information out to your school councils now, because they're meeting this week and they need this clarification now.
Thank you, Joel, for that. And what I can say is the principals heard from senior staff on Friday a really clear message, and the message was that you're working in collaboration. So even if the school council meeting is scheduled, this is still a move forward for the month of June. And we do actually have some time, because it may not be wholesome to everything that we want to do for this year, but there would definitely be an event in June that every school is going to partake in, okay? But we have to realize too that through June, schools have already set those agendas and different things they might be doing. So they have to tweak that, okay? But the meeting might be this week. The conversation can still happen outside of the meeting. There's a lot of councils right now that are working outside of the traditional meeting format, okay? So this is an important one, and the decision came down like pretty late. I hear what you're saying, but we still have to move forward and we have to act on what a motion was that the Board of Trustees have put forward to us. And the message has been shared to all schools. So they are all moving forward right now. Okay, together with their school councils. So, and that's something I can take back to the senior staff and to principals, is making sure that that is actually happening, that these are collaborative conversations, how we move forward through the month of June.
Okay, so Nancy, I guess my question to you is, what is your timeline to get this information out to school councils?
Well, my thing is, we shared that last week with them and said that this is where the conversation needs to happen this week. So I'm hoping that it's already started to happen, or it's happening this week. Okay. We had the meeting with them on Friday.
Okay.
Okay.
Marvin.
Just a query here. So Joel, is your thinking different from what you heard tonight from Superintendent Dinalfo? Do you have any other ideas which you could add on to Superintendent Dinalfo, pass it on to her, and she could send it down the system right away? Just wanted to know if you had other thoughts, Joel.
No, I mean, I'm not, like I said, I'm not looking to kick over the cans here and to light a fire. I'm more, you know, as I said at the beginning, the parents are wanting to take action. They're hurt, and they want to take action now to send a message to the LGBTQ community that they are safe and welcomed inside our schools. This action was one that I know a number of school councils did express to me that we'd like to do something. We don't know what. Is this an option? I said, I don't know. I'll bring it up to CPIC, see if it is. If the board is planning to do something, I'm not, you know, we'll wait and see what you guys are going to do. I'm not going to, I'm not beating my chest here. But again, if I knew that this was happening, I probably wouldn't have made the motion to begin with. So there's a bit of a communication error on this one.
I'm sure any suggestions would be welcome, Joel. You could suggest ideas and thoughts. Would be welcome for sure. Thank you.
Jerry.
Thanks, Jen. Yeah, you know what, Joel? I think after all we've heard, and you know, things have moved so fast, and a lot has evolved since last week. And personally, I'm grateful to see the progress that's being made. Is it exactly everything that you know the LGBTQ plus community wanted? Maybe not. I mean the flags aren't going to fly in the poll this year. But I for one am grateful to see what's progressing here, and also Joel, good on you for bringing it forward. Like honestly, I mean, let's face it, it's top of mind for everyone, no matter what side of the debate you're on. So I think this was worthwhile, frankly, to at least have the discussion. So well done, and you know, if I may be so bold, I think you can confidently go back to you know, the folks that have brought it to you to bring to this table and say you've got the support, you know, motion or no motion at this table, they've got our support, and I don't know that we'd have any dissenters at this table to that notion of having our support, because that's who else are we here for? We're here for our school councils and our parents, and ultimately our kids. So that's my bit. Thanks, Joel.
Okay, so here's what I'm going to propose going forward. I'm going to withdraw the motion from the meeting. However, I think we can, in the interest of transparency, I'm assuming that Nancy, you're going to be giving us a board update next meeting on exactly what the board is going to be doing for Pride Month in terms of actual specifics, correct?
I can do that, Joel. Absolutely.
Okay, so I know what I'll do. I'm going to withdraw the motion then, formally, informally. I don't know what the correct motion is, and we'll wait and see what happens next meeting, and well, hopefully I'm just going to say, if we can make sure that news gets out there to the school councils, the school council chairs, as soon as possible, we can. Because I think there's some confusion out there, and that was, again, that's why this was brought forward. But thank you, everyone.
And Joel, I can draft a communication to Catholic school councils as well for early this week.
Yeah, I mean, just to the chairs, because again, that's where this came from. Is that they were like, what's going on? What can we do? Are we allowed to do this now, or are we not? You know, is this now taboo in our school system? They wanted clarification. So if there's a policy or a program coming down, please get that out to the school councils like tomorrow, because they need that information.
I'm going to say maybe Wednesday morning.
That works for me. Thank you.
Okay.
Director Daly, I've seen your hand go up a couple of times there.
Yeah, thanks, Jennifer. And I don't have a whole lot to add other than, as Superintendent Dinolfo did note, we met with all of our elementary and secondary administrators on Friday. I think we set fairly clear expectations in terms of how that gets communicated back to school councils. That's why we met with our principals. So when they have their school council meetings this week, they'll be able to share that information. And just to be clear that whatever actions we take from kind of a board-wide perspective, that doesn't preclude individual schools raising awareness of Pride Month either. So that's a conversation between school councils or at the school council level with their school administration.
Thank you, Director Daly. All right, thank you very much, everybody, for all of your input and respectful discussion this evening. The last item on our agenda was just some proposed dates changed for CPIC meetings next year. We had two conflicts with the February and April meeting dates that we had previously posted. They conflicted with the CPIC meeting, so we have changed those to February 7th and April 4th. And as a result, we pushed the January one a little bit forward to allow for enough time in between meetings. So that meeting will be January the 10th. Again, I just want to thank everybody for their input, for all of our members listening and responding respectfully to fellow members' opinions and concerns. I'm really proud, I think I could talk on behalf of Jerry and myself to say that we're really proud to be part of such a collaborative committee that does its best to voice parents' concerns and ultimately advocate for all of our students' success. With that being said, Vince, are you going to be leading us in closing prayer today?
No, Jen, I will.
Okay, thanks,
Nancy.
Nancy.
Us in the closing prayer. And Jen, I want to echo your comments to CPIC. Thank you, everyone, for your professionalism and your collaboration tonight to navigate, what we thought was going to be a difficult meeting. Not sure how everyone was going to respond. But like Jen said, you're a very wonderful group of people to work with. And I think we've moved forward in a very positive way tonight. So thank you for that. I'd like to close this meeting in prayer. So if you could please join me in the sign of our faith. In the name of the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit, amen. Father, we want to thank you for being with us throughout this meeting. Your presence has been in this place from the start to the end, and we want to thank you. Lord, as we leave this place, let us go out there and be the salt and light for our people. May we put into practice what we have discussed and learned. Help us to make a difference in this world for the glory of your name. Lord, where we drifted and said things that do not bring glory to your name, we ask you for forgiveness. In Jesus' name, we believe and pray. Amen. In the name of the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit. Amen. Thank you, everyone, and have a good evening.
Thank you, everybody. And just a reminder, our next council chair meeting is Wednesday, May 19th, and our next CPIC meeting is Monday, June the 7th. See you then.